All right, let's talk about Daniel Jones here in the Indianapolis Colts, who, listen, this was such a red-hot start to the season. They now find themselves 8-4, which is not a bad record. It's also not a first-place record anymore. Jacksonville has overtaken them. So let's talk about what were the issues in this game? Really good Texans defense, why they weren't ultimately able to solve it. First, let's start off with a play like this. You see the coverage that Houston is showing right here. They're showing a blitz, a heavy blitz. And a lot of times, what have the Colts done in these scenarios? Well, they're going to do it on this play. Jones takes a snap, and you see Josh Downs is the player that they want to look towards. He's so good at winning these one-on-one matchups, and there is some separation. This play can potentially work. Ultimately here, though, the defender for Houston rebounds or makes up ground really nicely in that scenario, and also it was dropped, so that also helps for Houston. Ultimately, just not quite executing there. That was Kalen Bullock, the defender, who was able to help make that play. But also, that's a play you expect your Josh Downs to make. He also had the key drop in this scenario. There was a heavy blitz again, 3rd down and 9. If that's caught, and again, you could argue that's maybe not a perfect throw from Jones. I think that's fair. He was also under pressure, though. Sometimes you have to help out your quarterback. If that's caught, it's at the very least setting up a 4th down and very short instead of 4th down and 9. But I think it might have even been better than that. So, had it been caught, maybe you could have gotten the 1st down. So ultimately, that was an aspect. This next play, which is kind of tying into what we're talking about, 3rd down and 4 here. You see that it's going to be a zone coverage concept that the Houston Texans are going to play in this spot. Jones is going to take the snap, and where do you want him to throw the football here? There just isn't a window. Houston covers so well, and these are the kind of things that I think for most of these games, Indianapolis has been doing a great job at getting guys open and not really having issues in this scenario. Well, it seems like as of late, they've had more issues. The last 4 games have been Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Kansas City, and Houston. All those defenses, which are 4 effective defenses, have just done a better job at making it tougher for the Indianapolis Colts to get open. So here you're going to see Daniel Jones tries to get outside the pocket, ends up getting sacked, and Houston has a great pass rush. They can get pressure off of anybody, but also when you don't have a place to go with the football, you have to go to a next read or try and make something happen, and here they weren't able to. Now, going over here, there were a couple of high-level plays from Daniel Jones. And I think, in fact, I would say in just about every game he's played this season, he has shown that he can still make tough throws. So I don't think this is necessarily all doom and gloom. If you are a Colts fan, you see this play, it's Alec Pierce running a deep shot against zone coverage. Watch as he's going to get past the corner pretty quickly that he's going up against. You see that a safety has gotten all the way over, though. So for this to be a completion, it's going to have to take a perfect throw and perfect catch. However, as you see, that's exactly what you get. That was caught and inbounds. That was a touchdown, and a really impressive one. Jones has this ability, and the Colts have this ability to make these tough plays. This one was probably an even more impressive one. It's, again, a zone coverage concept here for the Indianapolis Colts. You see Josh Downs' route and how there is a bit of a window in this situation, right? There is a little bit of a gap that you can try and make this throw on paper. So, okay, Daniel Jones is going to take the snap. Again, does have a clean pocket, navigates it well. And you see, this is not a ton of separation whatsoever. Again, you're going to need a great throw and a great catch. And as you see, you get both of those things by Daniel Jones and by this Colts offense. Great catch. It's Josh Downs who made the play. Criticized him on a couple plays earlier. He definitely didn't have his best game, but he did have maybe his best play. That's a ridiculous play. So, again, this is kind of the Texans' defense, right? The way football works is it feels like it used to be a great defense could just shut down an offense. Now it's a great defense can make it really hard for an offense. But ultimately, if it's a great throw and great catch, you're going to be okay. But I would almost make it similar to the basketball example of you're forcing a team to make tough contested catches all game, tough contested shots all game. They're going to make some of them, but you just expect that over the course of an entire game, you'll hinder them enough that it won't allow them to win. And heading over to something like this, we did see some, I thought, well schemed up plays, something that we've seen a lot of, for the Colts this season has been, I think, good schemed up plays. This one, what's going to happen is it's a screen pass. Watch, Daniel Jones takes a snap. He's going to run a play action. Ultimately, a lot of receivers go towards the offense's right, but actually the ball goes back to the offense's left. Offensive linemen are now out there. And watch as Jonathan Taylor is able to go a long way. Now, I will say this about Jonathan Taylor. This was a guy who was in the MVP conversation not too long ago. I think that the running game has looked more human as of late. It had that ridiculous game against the Falcons, and I'm saying it because it's the whole unit, right? It's not just Jonathan Taylor. They had a great moment there, but against the Chiefs, it did get a little bit slower, and the Chiefs kind of know how to do that a little bit. But now here again, Houston, another good run defense, it's looked a little more human. Like this play, for example, this is a 2nd down and 2, really a 2nd down and 1. It says 2, but this is really 1. For the Colts, you have a couple of options. You could try and pass here, or you could try and just hand the ball off. And even though it's, you're not too far away, let's just get the first down right here. In this scenario, I think that for the Colts, usually when they decide to hand it off, they were just like always converting here. On this one, though, watch. It looks like there was a run blitz involved there. Houston's all over it. Ends up losing significant yards. That's not really something that was happening much earlier on this season, and I don't know if it might just be they played 2 good run defenses back to back, and so it feels like it's getting worse when in reality it's just 2 good run defenses. But nonetheless, this has been an aspect as well. Again, they still almost won this game. I don't want to make it seem like this was a complete disaster from start to finish or anything like that, but these were the little things that slowed them down when they were red hot earlier on this year. And then also this play, huge play in the game, 4th down and 1. They had been going for it on a lot of 4th downs and converting a lot of these 4th downs. Sometimes you will see that pendulum swing the other way a little bit. Sometimes you live by the 4th down decision-making, die by the 4th down decision-making. We see that with the Lions a bit. But here, I don't even care about the 4th down decision-making. I think it's the correct call to go for it here. They're going to run kind of a makeshift tush-push, but they have Tyler Warren taking the snap instead of Daniel Jones due to Daniel Jones' injury. But watch, the snap exchange is just off. Credit to Jonathan Taylor, who scoops it up and tries to see if he can run forward. It just wasn't going to happen there. So on 4th down and 1, they don't convert just because of an execution thing. That's not like, talent. That's just not doing the fundamentals of football. So ultimately, that's an issue, and in such a big play in the game, you hope that gets cleaned up. So where do we go from here with the Indianapolis Colts? That's kind of my main thoughts on how they played against the Texans. They're capable of making some really good throws. They, currently are tied with the Jaguars. They played the Jaguars twice this season, including once just next week, so that's a huge game for them. Maybe just me, I'm not going to fully panic. I think the Texans are very good, and that's another issue is the Texans are in your division, and they're very good. I think this defense is very good. I'm not going to fully panic. I do think that they played a much more clean game of football. Earlier it had been kind of putting the ball in harm's way was the issue. They didn't really have that. I kind of think they just had to make a lot of tough plays against a good defense and weren't fully able to do it. So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.